Welcome back to Doing Bart Things, and in this video, I tried to make another video and I actually rambled on for too long about too many different topics, so I'm going to cut this down and just talk about Strix Halo for a minute. I find this chip interesting because it seems like it's going to be kind of good. Maybe. The Zen 5 architecture, so this is Zen 5, which is going to be the 9000 series CPUs. Yeah, should be the 9000 series, is what I believe they're going to market these as. And it comes with 40 RDNA 3.5 CU cores. So RDNA 3 is the current AMD GPUs from the 7900 XTX down to the 7600 XT or 7600. And 40 of these cores is fairly stout. So they're talking like about a reference of a 4070-ish class. That's pretty good. And that's really good inside of a laptop that has integrated graphics. So, the wattage there ought to be pretty decent. They're looking at 8, 12, and 16 core variants. That's not bad, y'all. That's not bad. I honestly think this would be good inside a laptop. I also wonder if maybe some, enterprising person or company will make a motherboard like they've done with the Intel motherboards that will have this chip on an ITX board. I think that would be interesting because you could easily see someone making a very compact ITX system out of this that would be decent. And you could make it really small, just the footprint of the board inside of a really small ITX case. I think that would be pretty cool just to see. And it would work pretty well, I think. You'd probably be able to play everything at some decent settings. Now, pro tip for anybody if they end up with something like this, right? Make sure you have plenty of system memory. So, in normal systems that have everything split out, if you have a separate, what they call a discrete GPU, a discrete GPU means it's a separate GPU die, it's not integrated. So this would be integrated, okay? Because your CPU and GPU are put together. The system memory in this configuration is used for both graphics, so your GPU uses it and your CPU uses it. So it's split between those two chips. So it's good to see, ideally, the minimum amount of memory on here systems would be 32 gigs. Because you want, I think right now 16 gigs and you're good, but that would be minimum, right? I don't like 8 gigs anymore. I think that 8 gigs of RAM is a little bit on the lower side. Seems like a Chrome tab takes, 8 gigs by itself. So the joke is, anyway. But yeah, you can fill up your system memory at 8 gigs pretty quickly. So I'm thinking at least 16 gigs is a good idea. 32 gigs is probably a good standard for a good, workstation amount. It's probably even a little overkill, but it's not necessarily overkill for an integrated GPU system because it has to section off some of that and use that system memory for your GPU that does not come with its own memory. A discrete GPU will come with its own memory, right? So 8, 12, 16 gigs, whatever, will actually just be on the video card, and that will be its system memory. So, I'm sorry, that'll be the GPU VRAM. Okay. So that's important. Keep that in mind that it's good for these if you have more VRAM for the GPU to take advantage of, and your CPU to also use for its system memory. So that's why it has these 32 and 64 gigabyte memory configurations, which is a good thing. That was good to see. 40 CUs, Uh, yeah, that's pretty good. So, and it looks like there will be 8, 12, and 16 core variants of that. Um, yeah, and if you add LPDDR5X 8000, pretty good. So pretty fast RAM. And because this is a GPU, bandwidth is very important. You need high bandwidth for your memory. So this is looking like an interesting configuration. I would be very interested to see how it performs. If it can truly get kind of in that RTX 4070 territory, I mean, for a typical gaming laptop situation, if the entire laptop comes in below 2 grand and it's a good gaming laptop with this, I mean, good to go. you know, uh, if an 8 core, say, could get in around that 1000 mark, hey, that's a pretty good little system, honestly. So, and I'm assuming that these will obviously have hyperthreading. So, 16 cores will register as 32, right? Because of hyperthreading. That's pretty good, man. It's pretty tasty. And so I have kind of high hopes that this will be a decent performing setup. And hopefully for not too much money. Word is a lot of people are speculating that this is going to be way more spicy and good than what Intel's bringing to the table. Meteor Lake hasn't really been received super well by everybody. I mean, Intel's Raptor Lake, so the current desktop CPUs, they've been pretty good. They've got some problems, the latest gens and stuff, with some motherboards for stability. I've been reading about that. But to me, all that seems is it's motherboard manufacturers really trying to push the envelope to get. So when you think about it, take the chipset and motherboard that you use for anything, right? So like a Raptor Lake, say your Z790. The problem is there is nothing to separate out performance between one motherboard to another when it's the same chipset. So what some manufacturers have done is they have pushed things a little bit too far with voltage and up the front side bus a little bit and things like that. And I think some of them are actually starting to introduce a little bit of stability issue. Whereas if you just go on there and kind of cap the clock speed or you tweak it to make sure that things are fine, suddenly it's pretty much rock solid, right? So I think that that's a problem on, Intel and the motherboard manufacturers probably pointing their fingers at each other. It's probably a combination of both, because Intel also wants our product to look good, so they probably, until there was pushback from the user base, then they're like, oh no, motherboard manufacturers, how dare you? Like that's probably how that works. With these though, the ability for the motherboard to memory connection is even more important than it normally is for an AMD system when you have an integrated setup like this. So, you want the best memory you can get. You want probably to get as good of mount into the socket as you can get. The what are they? The contact frames. I would highly recommend, probably if you were to actually buy a separate chip, because I bet that they will potentially sell a Strix APU that will be by itself, maybe. But for any of these APUs, right? Really, any chip at all now. I think any of these land grid array chips, LGA chips, so the pins are on the motherboard. Man, I'm a fan now of getting a contact frame. I got one for my 7800 X3D, and I feel so much more confident in the mount that I got that I'm kind of kicking myself. I wish I would have done that with the Intel system that I had originally built because I think it would have made a big difference. I just would have felt a lot more comfortable in the mount that I got and the coverage as far as the thermal paste and everything. And it's just an oversight on my part. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I just wasn't thinking about it. And then when I got the AMD system, I go, you know what? I'm going to go get a mounting frame, and I got it. You know, and I think it just more evenly applied the pressure around the chip instead of on either side, which I think is important because I think that it allowed it to be perfectly, well, not perfectly. Nothing is ever perfect, but it just gave me so much more confidence when I mounted my Deep Cool 240 AIO. It like went down on there, and I felt like I got this great even pressure that I've not experienced a lot with other CPUs. I've done it, man. I've mounted more CPUs than I care to mention in systems, and something about that just gave me a huge confidence boost when I mounted the mount that I'd gotten a good seat. In that, when I pulled it off and looked at it, I was like, oh, look at the coverage. Like the paste was great. It looked really good. Like it had gotten a very good even paste on it. It almost sucked off. Like it didn't want to come off right away. And I just mounted it, and I was like, that's good. Put it back on there, and it was solid. So I think contact frames, they're $15. I think they're even less than that. Like it was no money. The Thermalright one was so easy to put on. Like it's a no-brainer. It really is. So I'm definitely looking forward to potentially upgrading to a 9000 series CPU, and then using a contact frame again for that because I know it should help. Anyway, contact frames, good thing. They are good. They're your friend. Maybe I'll do a video on that. Yeah, if I buy a new CPU eventually, I'll do a video on that because I think that would be good. Other videos have been done on it. Like I could do it. Just I'm not the I'm not really a YouTube channel that's got like a bunch of money and stuff. I can just throw it hardware. You heard it here first. Somebody wants to sponsor me and all of my stuff, that would be awesome. And I wouldn't be biased at all. But if I wink in a video, then you guys know what the deal is, right? Anyway, so, oh, good gravy. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. So I think getting a good mount is always important. These, I would definitely use a contact frame. I would want to use the fastest memory I could get away with that worked reliably. So I would probably want to overspend a little bit of the memory. They're saying, up to this. We'll see. Honestly, the other part about Zen 5 is going to be, what does it do with this memory? What's its Infinity Fabric look like? I've heard that's where a lot of IPC is coming from. In addition to the redesigned chip is going to be the Infinity Fabric. So they currently kind of have a structure where they're connected, but it has to go through the I/O die, blah, blah, blah. I've heard that they've got this new lattice construction on the chips that is supposed to really decrease latency. And if that's the case, that'll be really good. But we'll have to see. We really will have to see. I'm kind of taking that with a grain of salt because fundamentally they're not changing the design. It's still going to be your I/O die split out with the two chiplets. So we'll see about that. Anyway, so that's it. I thought this was kind of interesting. A little bit closer look at Strix Point. This is more substantial than some of the other leaks and stuff I've heard, only because like we've got some printed out, potential manifests of what's going on. I think that, so here's the kind of deal from, and you can see there's 16 core 32 thread, blah, 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 blah. What does it mean? It means it's going to have a decent little GPU on it. It means that, you know, this could go in laptops for sure. That's what that's this PCBA is. That's I forget what that stands for. Printed circuit board assembly. Yeah, there we go. So basically, it's not going to go in. It's not a chip that will go into a socket. It's going to be soldered on there. So anyway, guys, thank you again. Goofy little video, but whatever. I thought I would make it. I will make another video actually talking about the GPU situation coming up here pretty soon. Hint, a little bit doom and gloom, not gonna lie. Every time I talk about GPUs, it seems like it's that way. We'll do our best to have some positives in there, but leave a like and subscribe if you would. For now, I will leave you and have an awesome day, and we'll see you in the next one.